Right before walking down the aisle, my future mother-in-law whispered, "You'll always be second in his life. Know your place." My fiancé smirked and said, "She's just looking out for me." I smiled back and said, "Good, because I'm looking out for myself too." Minutes later, he turned pale as he saw what I had done. I should have seen the red flags earlier. I met Daniel 4 years ago at a charity gala in New York. He was charming, successful, and knew how to make a woman feel like she was the only one in the room. We clicked instantly. He was everything I thought I wanted: handsome, wealthy, well-educated. He came from old money, the type of family that had streets named after them. Me? I was a self-made lawyer, no silver spoon, no trust fund. I worked for everything I had. From the start, his mother, Marjorie, made it clear I wasn't what she wanted for her son. She never directly insulted me, no, she was too calculated for that. Instead, she made her disapproval known through small, carefully placed jabs. "Oh, your parents don't have a summer home in the Hamptons? That must be different. It's impressive you made it through law school with no family connections. I suppose it's refreshing that Daniel isn't dating another socialite for once." Translation? I was beneath them. I ignored it at first. I told myself I didn't need her approval. I was in love with Daniel, not his mother. But I started noticing something. Daniel never defended me. Whenever she made her passive-aggressive comments, he'd just shrug or say, "That's just how she is." If she insulted me at dinner, he'd give me a weak smile and change the subject. If I ever brought it up later, he'd act like I was overreacting. "She doesn't mean anything by it, babe. She's just old-fashioned. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Over time, I convinced myself he was right. Marjorie didn't have to love me. I was marrying Daniel, not her. I told myself love was enough. I was wrong. The wedding was supposed to be a dream. We booked the Plaza Hotel in New York, his mother's choice, of course. She controlled everything. The flowers, the seating, the food. Even the invitations had her fingerprints all over them. I wanted a small wedding. She insisted on a 400-person guest list, full of her friends, her business partners, and her social circle. I let it go. The night before the wedding, at the rehearsal dinner, I saw her whisper something to Daniel. He laughed, then looked at me and smirked. I asked him what she said. "Nothing, babe. She just thinks it's funny how much you're stressing over small details." That was the first crack. The morning of the wedding, my bridesmaids were helping me into my dress. The air smelled like roses and expensive perfume. I should have been happy. I should have been excited. But there was a weight in my chest I couldn't shake. Then Marjorie walked in. She was dressed in a cream-colored gown, practically white, because of course she was. She gave me one long, slow look, then stepped closer, lowering her voice so only I could hear. "You'll always be second in his life. Know your place." I felt my stomach drop. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh, to say she was joking. She didn't. She just smiled, like she had won. Then Daniel walked in. I turned to him, praying that he'd say something. Anything. That he'd tell her to back off. Instead, he chuckled. "She's just looking out for me," he said. Like it was cute. Like it was nothing. Like he agreed with her. I had spent 4 years with this man. I had given him my love, my trust, my time. I had let him convince me to ignore every red flag, every warning sign. And in that moment, standing in a $15,000 wedding dress, I knew I was done. But what they didn't know was, I was already prepared. For months, something had felt off with Daniel. At first, I thought it was wedding stress. He was always on his phone, always busy. He had sudden business trips that didn't add up. His best man, Ethan, acted strange around me, like he knew something I didn't. So, I did what any woman with a brain and a law degree would do. I hired a private investigator. What I found? Daniel wasn't just hiding something. He was hiding someone. Her name was Rebecca. His ex, the same Rebecca his mother always wished he had married. The same Rebecca Marjorie still talked about at family dinners. The one she claimed was the one who got away. Daniel and Rebecca had been meeting at the Ritz-Carlton in Boston for months. I had photos, videos, text messages. He called me boring. He called me a placeholder. He told Rebecca he couldn't wait to be with her again. And the worst part? Marjorie knew. She was in on it. She approved. I sat with this information for weeks. I could have confronted him immediately. I could have called off the wedding. But that would have been too easy. No. If they wanted a wedding, I'd give them a show. I walked down the aisle. My steps were slow, measured. My heart was pounding, but my face was calm. Guests smiled at me. Marjorie smirked like she had already won. Daniel beamed, completely clueless. We reached the altar. The priest began speaking. Then it was my turn. I took a breath, looked into Daniel's eyes, and smiled. Before we begin, I just want to share something special with everyone here. I turned to the massive projector screen behind us. The lights dimmed. The screen flickered to life. And then everything. The texts. The photos. The videos. The proof. Daniel laughing with Rebecca in hotel lobbies. Texts calling me a chore. Guests gasped. Someone screamed. Marjorie went rigid. And Daniel? He turned pale. His hands trembled. He looked at me, then at the screen, then back at me. Like he could somehow fix this. Like there was any way out. But I wasn't done. I turned back to him, still smiling, and whispered, I deserve better. Then I let go of his hands. Silence. The kind of silence that feels loud. The kind that presses against your ears, makes the hairs on your arms rise. Then, chaos. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone knocked over a glass. A chair scraped against the floor as a guest stood up, maybe in shock, maybe in disgust. The air in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel felt thick, like everyone was holding their breath at once. Daniel's face was ghost white. His hands trembled at his sides, fingers twitching, like he wanted to grab me, to shake me, to make me undo what I had just done. Marjorie? She was frozen. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. It was beautiful. I turned away from them, stepping back toward my bridesmaids, who looked at me with a mix of shock, admiration, and pure, unfiltered joy. Then Daniel finally moved. What the hell is this? His voice cracked. I tilted my head. Looks like proof. His eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. The guests, all 400 of them, were watching him, whispering, waiting. His father, an old-money Wall Street mogul, was glaring at him like he was a massive disappointment. The kind you don't just sweep under the rug. This is fake, Daniel blurted out. His voice too loud, too desperate. He turned to the priest. Can we move on? She's pulling a prank, I laughed. That was the last straw. People started murmuring louder. A few guests actually snorted, shaking their heads. One of his groomsmen muttered something under his breath and took a step back, like he didn't want to be associated with this disaster. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, a voice clear, sharp, cutting through the noise like a knife. She's not lying, Danny. Silence again. I turned. It was Ethan. The best man. His face was tense, his jaw clenched. His hands were in fists, like he was holding something in. Daniel whipped around to him. What the hell are you talking about? Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. He wasn't looking at Daniel. He was looking at me. I knew. I knew about Rebecca. His voice was thick, like it physically pained him to say it. What? Daniel's voice wavered. Ethan ignored him. His eyes never left mine. I wanted to tell you. I tried, but... He swallowed. I thought you already knew. My chest tightened. I had expected many things that day. Shock, anger, maybe a dramatic scream or two. But this? This was new. What do you mean? I asked, my voice steady, but my heart pounding. Ethan exhaled, shaking his head. Rebecca, she wasn't the only one. I felt my stomach drop. I had prepared for one betrayal. I had spent weeks knowing that Daniel had one mistress. I had planned my revenge around one cheating scandal. But this? I wasn't ready for this. Explain, I said, my voice sharp as glass. Daniel shook his head violently. Don't listen to him. He's just trying to ruin this. Ethan cut him off. Shut the hell up, Danny. The room went dead silent again. Daniel looked stunned. He had never been spoken to like that. Not by Ethan. Not by anyone. Ethan took a deep breath, then turned back to me. It's not just Rebecca. He hesitated, then said, there were others. And some of them weren't just flings. Everything tilted for a second. I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. How many? I forced the words out. Ethan looked at me, and for the first time, he looked guilty. At least 3 that I know of. The crowd exploded. 3. Not 1. Not just Rebecca. 3. Daniel lunged toward Ethan, his face red with fury. You're lying. You're making shit up. Ethan didn't move. He just stared back at him, disgust plain on his face. Dude. Stop. You got caught. Just own it. Marjorie snapped out of her trance. Enough. Her voice boomed through the ballroom, sharp and shrill. She stormed toward me, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor, her hands clenching into fists. You think you're so smart, don't you? She spat. You think humiliating my son in front of all these people makes you the better person? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, honey, I don't think. I know. Her entire face twisted. She was seething. You will regret this. And then? She raised her hand like she was going to slap me. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. But before she could touch me, someone stepped in between us. Ethan. He grabbed her wrist, his face dark, cold, and unreadable. Don't even think about it. His voice was low, deadly. Marjorie stiffened. She had never been told no. Never been stopped before. But Ethan didn't let go. He leaned in, his voice just for her. Your son ruined his own life. Not her. Marjorie's face contorted in rage. You were supposed to be his best man, she hissed. How dare you betray him? Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm tired of protecting a man who doesn't deserve it. And then, for the first time, Daniel looked afraid. People were leaving their seats now, whispering, murmuring. Some had their phones out, probably recording everything. I could hear snippets of conversations. This is insane. She dodged a bullet. Can you believe his own best man turned on him? The tension in the room was unbearable. And then, Daniel did what I never expected him to do. He turned to me, his face pale, his hands trembling, and dropped to his knees. Daniel dropped to his knees like a desperate man clutching at his last chance. The murmurs in the ballroom turned into full-blown whispers and gasps. I could feel hundreds of eyes watching, waiting for my reaction. My pulse was steady, my breathing controlled, but inside, I was burning. Baby, please. His voice cracked. I almost laughed. Baby? This man, this cheating, lying coward, was still playing the role. Still hoping he could talk his way out of this. I crossed my arms. Get up. His eyes were wild, darting around like a cornered animal. I can fix this. We can fix this. There it was. The classic manipulation. Not I'm sorry. Not I made a mistake. Just let's fix this as if we were partners in his mess. Someone near the back of the room scoffed. It was one of my cousins. My bridesmaids were whispering furiously, their faces a mix of rage and disbelief. I don't think there's anything to fix, Daniel, I said coolly. I turned my back on him, letting the silence stretch. And then, another voice cut through the tension. A woman's voice. Oh, you've gotta be f***ing kidding me. Heads turned. A woman stepped forward from the middle of the crowd. She was tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a deep green gown that screamed money and power. But her face? Her face was furious. Daniel's eyes widened in horror. No, he muttered under his breath. Marjorie whipped around, her gaze locking onto the woman. And for the first time since this all started, since the moment she tried to slap me, she looked nervous. You. Marjorie's voice was low, deadly. I raised an eyebrow. Who the hell was this? The woman stormed up the aisle, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking straight at Marjorie. How do you lecture her on knowing her place when you never knew yours? The woman snapped. The room stilled. Daniel looked ready to faint. Marjorie's mouth pressed into a thin line. You shouldn't be here, she hissed. Oh, I should have been here a long time ago, the woman shot back. Then she turned to me. I assume you're the fiancé? Was, I corrected. A slow, cold smile spread across her lips. You might want to sit down for this. I didn't move. Who are you? I asked, voice steady. She tilted her head, like she was weighing her words. Then she turned back to Daniel, eyes glinting with something dangerous. I'm his father's mistress. The gasps were deafening. I swear I heard someone drop their champagne glass. Daniel physically swayed like he was going to pass out. His father, who had been sitting in stony silence, shot up from his seat, his face going dark with rage. Catherine, he started. But Catherine, Daniel's dad's mistress, lifted a hand, stopping him. No, don't you, Catherine me, she sneered. Not after you dragged me into this f***ing mess. Asterisk, I glanced at Daniel. He looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Marjorie? Her hands were clenched into tight fists, her entire body shaking with anger. You have no right to be here, she spat. No right? Catherine let out a sharp laugh. Sweetheart, I have more right than anyone. You think you're the only one who gets to play puppet master? You've been cheating on your husband for years, and now you want to act like some perfect society queen. Wait, what? I blinked. Did I just hear that right? I wasn't the only one stunned. The entire room went still. Daniel slowly turned to his mother. Mom? His voice was uncertain. Marjorie's lips pressed so tightly together they turned white. But Catherine? She wasn't done. Oh, poor Daniel, she mocked. Your mommy never told you? She's been having an affair for years. And guess what? Your father knew. The room erupted. Daniel's father's face was stone cold, his eyes locked on Marjorie. Is it true? He asked, his voice deadly quiet. Marjorie opened her mouth, closed it, then snapped. Are you really going to take the word of your whore? A collective gasp. Catherine? She smirked. A whore, she repeated. Big talk for someone who's been sleeping with the same tennis instructor for 6 years. Marjorie lost it. She lunged, actually lunged at Catherine, but Daniel's father grabbed her wrist, stopping her. Enough, he said firmly. But Daniel? He was still standing there, staring at his mother like he'd just found out the world was a lie. Mom, is this true? Marjorie's nostrils flared. Her gaze darted toward me, toward the guests, toward the people watching this family disaster unfold in real time. I knew that look. It was the look of a woman who had lost control. It doesn't matter, she snapped. This is between me and your father. But Daniel shook his head, disbelief painted all over his face. You made my entire life about being better than Dad, he whispered. You told me he was a disappointment. That he was the reason we had to be careful about our name. He let out a bitter laugh. But all this time, you were just like him. The room felt charged, like something was about to break. I could see the shift in Daniel's face, like everything he believed was unraveling. I should have felt sorry for him. I didn't. Because in that moment, I realized this was why he was the way he was. Marjorie had raised him to be like her. Cold, calculating, entitled. But now? Now, she had been exposed just like him. And Daniel, for the first time in his life, looked truly alone. And I wasn't done yet. I took a slow step forward, locking eyes with him. You and your mother always looked down on me, I said, voice calm. Like I wasn't good enough. I let the silence stretch. But now you're the ones covered in dirt. And then, the doors burst open. A new voice rang through the ballroom. Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? I turned. And there she was. Rebecca. The doors slammed open, and the entire room turned toward the entrance. There she was. Rebecca. Tall. Blonde. Wearing a dangerously low-cut red dress, the kind you don't wear to a wedding unless you want to cause a scene. She held a small clutch in one manicured hand, her expression calm, too calm. And I smiled. Oh, perfect timing, I murmured, just loud enough for Daniel to hear. Daniel? He looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. What the hell are you doing here? His voice was tight, panicked. Rebecca stepped forward, completely unbothered. Relax, sweetheart. You invited me. The room collectively gasped. His hands clenched into fists. I didn't. Rebecca pulled out her phone. No? Then who sent me this? She turned the screen toward the crowd. And there, in full view of 400 guests, was a message from Daniel, time-stamped 2 nights ago. I can't stop thinking about you. I wish this wedding wasn't happening. You were always the one. A stunned silence. Then, a furious whisper from the crowd. Jesus Christ. Is he serious? His fiancée is standing right there. I turned back to Daniel, tilting my head. That's interesting. You told me you hadn't talked to her in months. His face drained of color. Rebecca smirked. Oh, honey. He's been talking to me for years. Daniel staggered back. That's not true. Rebecca folded her arms. You're really gonna deny it? Then she turned to me. I wasn't going to come. Her voice was steady, calm in the storm. I thought I owed you that much. But then, she waved her phone. He practically begged me to meet him last night. So I figured, why not come see the show? A collective gasp. Daniel whipped toward me. She's lying, Rebecca laughed. Am I? Babe, check your phone. Daniel yanked his phone from his pocket, fumbling with it. His eyes flicked over the screen, then widened in horror. I knew what he saw. I had already seen it. The texts. The dozens of texts he sent her, just hours before the wedding, begging her to meet him in secret. Then, Marjorie snapped. She turned on Daniel like a viper. You idiot, she hissed. Do you have any idea what you've done? Her voice cut through the room like a blade. Daniel looked at her, stunned. Mom, you have humiliated this family. Her voice was deadly quiet now, but her hands? They were shaking with rage. You had one job. One. Daniel blinked, suddenly looking like a little boy caught stealing cookies. You think this is about you? Marjorie continued. Do you know how hard I worked to make this wedding happen? Do you know what I had to clean up for you? And now you've made us look like absolute fools. Daniel flinched. I didn't. Stop lying, Daniel. For the first time in his life, his mother looked at him with nothing but disgust. You're pathetic, she spat. The crowd erupted again. I saw his father watching silently, unmoving, his jaw clenched. Ethan stood stiffly beside him, arms crossed, watching it all crumble. Daniel looked lost. Like he had finally realized there was no way out. Then, he turned back to me. Please. His voice broke. I messed up. But we can fix this. I stared at him for one long, slow second. Then I picked up my bouquet. And I threw it in his face. Gasps. A few laughs. The bouquet hit his chest and dropped to the floor. Daniel just stood there stunned. I smoothed down my dress, turned to the audience, and gave a small, elegant nod. Thank you all for coming, I said sweetly. The wedding is off. But please, enjoy the food. It's already paid for. Then I turned on my heel and walked away. And let me tell you, it was the best walk of my life. So, where's everyone now? Daniel? Completely disgraced. His firm quietly let him go because public scandals aren't good for business. Word spread fast in New York. No one wants to hire a lawyer who gets exposed in front of 400 high-profile guests. Marjorie? Oh, she's seething. But guess what? She's too embarrassed to show her face at social events. Turns out, being caught in her own affair made her a pariah. Rebecca? Back with her actual ex-boyfriend. She never wanted Daniel long-term. She just liked knowing she could have him anytime she wanted. Ethan? Turns out, he had feelings for me the entire time. We've been getting coffee. No pressure. Just seeing where things go. And me? I took the honeymoon trip to Paris. Alone. With Daniel's black card. I had no regrets. And as I sipped my champagne, looking over the Seine at sunset, I realized something. I had spent years thinking I needed to prove myself to that family. Turns out, they were never worth my time.